Hello and a warm welcome to all of you present here to attend today's live session, which will be on Python programming by Atharved. So, as you all know, this is our second session on Python programming, and myself, Akash Raj, I will be our presenter for today's session. So, as you all know, as this is our second session, so before directly starting up with today's session, let us just revise what we have learned in the previous session. Yeah. So basically, we learned four main things in our previous session, which are the first thing is the input output statements, where we learned input function and print function. Input function to take the input from the users, and print function to print the output at the console. And next, variables and data types, how to define a variable, how to assign a particular value to a variable, different types of data types that Python supports, for example, int, float, double, etc. And then we got to know regarding lists and strings. In lists, how to declare a list, some operations such as append, insert, and same with the string also. We also saw some examples for list and strings. And finally, operators in Python, basically arithmetical operator, logical operator, and then relational operator. So all these things we'll be using in today's session as well. So if you haven't gone through our first session, please check it out in YouTube. So without further delay, let us start with today's session. So the contents are three main topics. One is decision-making statements, and under which we will learn if-else statement, if statement, and then elif statement. And second topic is loops, and we'll get to know regarding while loop, for loop, and then nested loops. And the third topic and final topic will be on loop control statements. Again, three main statements there: break, continue, and pass. We will start with the first topic for today's session, which is decision making statements. So decision making, as the name itself suggests, executing a set of statement based on a particular condition. So Python has three main decision making statements, out of which the first one we'll be discussing is the if statement. So if statement in Python is similar to that of C programming. So what it does is if statement, it will execute the set of statements only if the condition is true. This condition is specified by the user. So only if the condition is true, the statements that is declared inside that if block will get executed. So the syntax here is if is a keyword, space, we define the condition here, followed by a colon, and with the one tab space, we declare the statements that we want to execute if that condition is true. Okay. So now you might be wondering, what if the condition is false? So for that, if you want to execute some statements, if the condition is false, for that we have if else statement. So if we'll execute the set of statements if the condition is true, but if the same condition, if it is false, then the statements that we declare in else will get executed. So normally we use if else most of the times. So you can check the syntax here. If is a keyword, else is also a keyword here. If space condition, user defined condition here, colon, one tab space, we declare the statements that we want to execute if the condition here mentioned in if is true. And in the same indent as if we type else keyword here followed by colon, we need not again type the condition here, because it is understood that if the condition specified in if is wrong, directly the statements that is declared inside else will get executed. So at a time, either a statement here, either statement 1 or statement 2 will get executed. Both can't get executed because the condition, either it can be true or false. It can't be both. So for that purpose, normally we use if and else together in our programs. So moving next, the third type of decision making statement, it is else if statement. So suppose you have more than one condition. So using if else again and again will increase your the line of code. So for that we have an else if statement in Python. So what it does is, here you can check out in the syntax. First we specify a particular condition using if, and then a statements that we want to execute if that condition 1 is true. And if you have another condition which is not same as the condition 1, we can define it in elif. Elif is a keyword. Elif space condition 2 and some another set of statements that we want to execute if that condition 2 is true. And in the same way, we can have many conditions or many elif statements. And at the end, we can also define an else statement. So if either of this condition that you mentioned earlier with if and if else, elif. So if all the statements are false, then directly the interpreter will execute the statements which is in else. So at a time, any one of these statement will get executed based on a particular condition if it is true or not. So after any of this statement get executed, the interpreter will directly move the execution to the outer statement, that is statement Z here, which is outside the entire elif block. So that is it regarding decision making and if elif statement. So now to understand all this better, let us just look into examples. So initially, let us take an example for if statement. So we'll take up a simple example to check the greatest of two numbers. So a is equal to, I declare a particular variable a is equal to. So can any of you tell me how can I take the input from the user? What statement should I use? Yeah, input, correct. So I want the enter variable should be to be of an int format. So I will specify int there. I will use the input function. I will say a is equal to, and as I told, as we need two variables here because we need to check greatest of two numbers. I'll change the variable name. Yeah. So now I'll use an if statement. If a is greater than b, I will print that a is greater than here. In the place of a, the input that you give in the console will get printed. So for that purpose, I'm printing it in this format. So I'll just run this. So it is asking for the input. I'll give it as 55, 20. So you can see here, you can see, yeah. So 55 is greater than 20. That is, A is greater. It checks whether the entered variable 55 is greater than 20. If the condition is true, it will execute the statement inside that if block. So now, if I want to enter A and if B is greater, now if B is greater, you can see it will check whether 55 is greater than 70. As the condition is false, this entire print A is greater than B is completely skipped. And as there is no else statement here, so the entire execution stops there. So now let me put an else statement which prints that B is greater than A. B is greater than A. So it is as simple as that. So now I will enter the same set of data again. You can see here. It will check whether 55 is greater than 70. As the condition is false, directly the statement that is inside else will get executed. So one more simple example here is, I will try to give two same data. 55. So here you can see it will check whether 55 is greater than or 55. As the condition becomes false, it won't check whether they're equal or not, because I have not mentioned any condition. So what if this if condition is wrong, whatever the value will be, the else statement that you declare will get executed. So now I have three separate conditions. One is whether a is greater than b, whether a is less than b, and whether a is equal to b. So for that, let us have an else if statement. Elif. Here you can see one tab space, and the if and elif should be of same indent. There should not be any gap. So elif a is than b, I will print it I'll print b is greater than a. One more elif I will add. Elif is nothing but else if. Elif a is, so now can anyone say which operator should I use here? Whether should I use a equal to b or a double equal to b? Which one should I use? Yeah, yes, that's correct. It is a double equal to, because a equal to b means assigning. A double equal to b means comparing. So here we need to compare the a and b value. So I will print a is equal to b. And I will add a else statement here, which will get executed if all these conditions are false. Here it is not possible, because either a number should be greater than, or it should be less, or it should be, or it should be equal. So I'll print as invalid. Okay. And I will add one more statement here. That is the statement which is outside the entire elif block. I'll print as done. Yes. So now I will run the program. Yeah. I will enter the value for A. I will enter it as 8. For B, I will again add one value. 8, 7. So here you can see it will check. First, it will check whether the if statement here mentioned, that is whether 8 is greater than 7. So as it is true, directly it will execute this 8 is greater than 7, and after that directly the entire elif statement, elif and else is skipped, and directly the immediate next statement, which is after the elif block, that is print done, will get executed. So that is regarding if and elif. So moving next, let us go to our second topic for today's session, which is nothing but loops. So loops is nothing but a repetition. So if you want to execute a set of statements repeatedly or multiple times, so then we go with loops. So Python supports with the three main types loops, which are for loop, while loop, and then nested loops. So initially we'll get to know regarding while loop. So while loop, similar to that of how it is in C programming, same here, even here it is somewhat same. So what while does is, so while will execute set of statements that is mentioned inside that while block until the condition is true. Until, so here you can mention, you can make up until. So until the condition is true, that's statements that is declared inside while will get continuously iterated. So the syntax here, while is a keyword, while we specify the expression that is defined by the user, and with one tab space, we declare the statements that we need to execute if that condition, until that condition is true. So what happens is, so initially interpreter will check whether the condition is true. So if the condition is true, statement 1 will get executed, statement 2 will get executed, and after that directly it won't go to the statement X. It will again check whether the condition is true. So in this way, continuously it will be going on checking the condition, and until this expression is true, this statement 1 and 2 will get will be continuously getting iterated. So if your condition is wrong, so then there might be chance of your the statements getting iterated infinitely. So we'll see one example for that later. So you need to be a bit careful when we define a particular conditions with respect with the while loop. So that is it regarding while loop. So now we will move on to the next loop that we'll be using, or very commonly used, and one of the important loop, which is nothing but for loop. So in for loop, like basically for loop is used if we want to iterate over a particular sequence. So sequence in the sense list, string, tuple, dictionary, anything. So and even some built-in functions are like range also. So if we will be using in the exam, we'll be seeing that in the example when I give you. In the syntax, you can check here for a particular variable in a sequence. That is, this variable initially will be assigned to the first value in the sequence, and if that is true, then the statement inside that for will get executed. So this will continue until this iteration variable reaches the last item in the sequence. So after that, as there is no other item in the sequence, the loop will stop there, and the statement X, which is outside for loop, will get executed. So that is regarding for loop. So moving next, we have nested loops. So in nested loop is nothing but using one loop inside another. So it can be while inside a for inside a for, or for inside a while, yeah, anything. So that is called as nested loops. So in the syntax you can check here. I have mentioned two syntax here, that is for inside a for and while inside a while. So for, we'll check on for first. For iterating variable one in sequence one. So here sequence one and sequence two are two different sequence. So for it can be same also. So for iterating variable in a sequence one, that is the outer for loop, and then inner for loop is for iterating variable two in sequence two. So initially when the interpreter executes this, so first the iterating variable one will be assigned to the first value in the sequence. That is, if your sequence contains 1, 2, 3, 4, initially iterating variable one will be 1. That is the first element, 1. So and after that it will go with the second for loop. For example, if a sequence is ABCD, initially this iterating variable will be assigned to the A, and statement one will get executed. And in the next cycle, it won't, this the iterating variable one remains at 1, but iterating variable 2, it will go to the next position, that is B. So in this way, until iterating variable 2 reaches the last element of the sequence, this iterating variable 1 will remain at the first item in the sequence itself. So the last combination will be iterating variable 1 being the last element in the sequence, and iterating variable 2 remaining at the last element in the sequence 2. So that is a final combination that is possible. After that, the execution stops, the for loop iteration stops, and the statement 2, which is outside the for and for block, that is nested loop block, will get executed. Same thing with while also. So for while loop, let us take a simple example of printing n numbers. So I will take the input from the user. I will ask him like limit of number to be printed. I'll ask him n is equal to, and now as I have the limit, I want the count to be started from 1. So I will assign one variable I, and I will assign it to 1. Now I will use while loop, while I is less than or equal to I, even I need even the n to be printed. So while I is less than or equal to n, I will print. I'll add one more statement here. That is the statement which is outside the entire while loop. Yeah. So now you will check now. You can see. Let me check how many of you. Okay, here I have one friend. Will Python support do while? No. Basically we use while itself, but you can have else statement in while also. Python supports that. You can have else, while else, for else. So it supports that. That is it regarding Yashas. I hope I cleared your doubt. So now we will run this. I will enter it as 4. So now if I can see, I have not incremented the value of 5. So the iteration is going on still. That is, it is getting iterated continuously, infinite times. So in order to stop this, I have to insert a keyboard error. So now the iteration stop. Otherwise, it will get continue. It will be continuously iterating. So now I will correct this. I will add an increment. I will increment the value of I after printing it. That is I is equal to I plus 1. Just yeah. So now let me run the program. Enter the value of I as 5. Here you can see it starts from I, that is the first element I. It will check whether 1 is less than 5. N is 5, as I mentioned. So it will check whether 1 is less than 5. As 1 is less than 5, it will directly print that. So here you can see initially it will check whether I, that is 1 is less than 5. So as the condition is true, it will print 1 there, and after that it will increment the value of 1, that is 1. It will add 1 to that. So I becomes 1 plus 1, 2. So now it will check again whether 2 is less than 5. So as the condition is true, it will print 2. And after that again I gets incremented. So in this way this happens until So when I becomes 4, it will check whether 4 is less than 5. So as the condition is true, it will print 4 there. And then 5, I will be 5. And again, it will check whether 5 is less than or equal to 5. As the condition is true in while, it will print 5. And now I becomes 6. It will check whether 6 is less than or equal to 5. As the condition is false, entire while loop stops there, and the print done, that is the statement which is outside while loop, will get executed. So that is regarding while. I hope you understood this. So now let us have a small example on for loop. So for loop, let us take an iteration over a particular string. For I will take a iteration variable as I. We can take any variable. For I in let my string be Python. I will print Python. I print I. So here, no need of incrementing the I because I value, because automatically for will assign a new value to the I from the string. So I will just run the program here. So here you can see I have commented this. So this won't be executed because it will be considered as a complete comment statements. So only this for statement will be get executed. Here you can see in the first iteration, instead of taking the entire string, you can see it is taking a single characters from the string. So that is what for is. So and one more thing, we need not increment the value of I, or we need not tell I to be changing its position after one iteration. So automatically it does. So initially I will be P, it will print P, and after that I automatically gets assigned to Y, that is second character. So in this way, until I reaches N, that is the last characters in the string, N will get printed, and after that, as there is no other statement, the execution stops or the iteration stops there. So that is regarding for. Let me give you one more example with for with using some built-in functions like range. You can see range stop. So I can specify the stop value. What it does, so what range does is it will automatically create or generate a sequence of numbers from 0 to the n minus 1 value. That is here a range of n is 5. So it will automatically generate a sequence from 0 to 4. 0 to 4. So automatically it will generate. We need not again declare the list of with the elements 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Automatically, if you put it as a range of 5, automatically the sequence will be generated. So now let me execute this. Here you can see. Yeah. Initially, as I told, it will create a sequence of element 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So initial I will be assigned to 0, and 0 will be printed, and then I will be assigned to 1 will be printed. So in this way. So this continues until the last element, that is 4. So 4 is the last element in the sequence that is generated by the range 5. So after that, as there is no other element, the complete iteration stops there. So that is regarding for. So I hope you understood regarding for now. So if we go with the nested loops, I will be taking again for as an example. I will take it as again we will be dealing with the string operation. So this is the outer loop, that is for I in Python. Now I will declare inner for loop again. That is I can't have a same iteration variable again. I have to change the variable. I have made it to j now. For j in string. Let me give it as session. So I have declared one more string here, and here you can see I need to correct this because otherwise it will take it as a statement which is inside the outer for loop. But this thing I need to execute if the both for outer and inner. So print I comma j. Let us execute this, and okay. And one more thing, I will add a statement outside the nested loops also. I'll print it, print done. So here it is, print done. So let me run the program now. So you can see, yeah. So initially what happens is I will be assigned to P, J will be assigned to S. Okay, so and the P, I, and J, that is P, comma P and S will be printed. Okay, so in the next cycle now you can say I remains at P, but J changes to E. That is the next element in the sequence. So in this way, this continues until the J reaches N, that is the last element in the sequence or the string 2. So after that, you can see I changes to Y. That is I moves to the next position. That is Y. So here, here you can see Y changes to I changes to Y. And after, as soon as Y changes to I changes to Y, J will get again iterated. That is, J will start to assign again. It will start from the first position in the string 2. That is yes. So in this way, this continues until the last combination, which will be I will be N and J will be N. So see here you can see. So last combination will be I is equal to N and J is N. So after this, as there is no other sequence in I in string 1 as well as in string 2, the entire loop stops and the print done command, which is outside the nested loop, will get executed. So it is as simple as that. So there is one drawback here in nested loops, that is it will reduce the speed of execution. So if in case we have, for example, here it is a string. So if in case we have a list of two separate lists with some 100 items, so you can just imagine how many combination is possible and how many iteration is possible there. So for that purpose, we try to reduce nested loops when we develop a particular, when we apply or when we code with the Python. And one more fun fact is that if you consider C, Java, and Python, Java is 3 times slower than C, and Python is 5 times slower. So when we code, we have to make sure that our code doesn't lag. So that is it regarding while, for, and nested loops. So now moving on to the third and final topic for today's session, which is loop control statements. So loop control statements is they're like a special statements. So what they can do is they can change the path of execution inside a loop. So there are 3 main statements inside loop control statements, which are break, continue, and pass. So first, let us check out what break is. So here you can see break statement. What it does is normally inside a loop we put a particular condition and then we declare a break there. So whenever this break get executed by the interpreter, what happens is the entire loop is terminated there itself at any point of time. So you can like if your condition is like in the first iteration itself, if you want to break, that is possible. So as soon as the execution starts, the loop, if a break is there, the entire loop will stop there itself. So using break, yeah, normally we will be using break and continue when we deal with the loops if we have particular conditions there. So it depends. And break here again, yeah, break in Python is similar to that of C programming. Even in C we have break statement, control statements. Yeah. And break can be used in both while and for loops. So syntax here is lowercase break. So yeah, that is regarding break statement. It is simple. That is like here in the flowchart also you can check it. So if the execution or the interpreter checks the break statement, so directly you can see the entire loop is stopped and the execution path is shifted to the statement which is outside the loop. That is the next immediate statement which is outside the loop. So that is what break statement is. So now let us move on to the next statement, which is continue statement. So continue statement, what it does is similar to that of C. What it does is it will skip, or what you can say, it will reject all the statement which are after continue, and it will skip one complete iteration, and it will move the path of execution to the top of the loop. So you will get to know regarding continue in a much better way when I give you an example. So that is here again, if I can check it here. So if the interpreter checks the continue statement, so automatically it will change the path of execution to the condition here. Again, that is like all the statement which are inside this conditional code is skipped, and directly the interpreter moves to the top of the position, top of the condition or the loop, top of the loop. So that is regarding continue statement. So you will understand this better when I give an example. So next is the pass statement. So pass statement is like a null operation. It is like a valid comment in Python. So basically it doesn't do anything. So it is mainly used sometimes when we have an empty for loop or empty any empty loop. So if you declare any loop and if the body is empty, you will get an error. So to prevent that error, so we use pass. So now to understand these loop control statements in a better way, let us take an example for each case. So let us have an example with while itself. It will be better. Yeah. So inside while, you can see the same program as I used to print n numbers. So what I'll do is while I is less than or equal to n. After that, I'll put a condition here that which is if I is equal to, or if I'll compare it with the 3. So if I becomes 3, I want the loop to break here. Okay. So yeah. Now let me run this. So it is asking for me input. Wait. I'll just adjust the size of this. Yeah. N. I'll enter n as 5. So you can see. So initially I will be 1. It will check whether 1 is less than 5. As condition is true, it will check whether 1 is equal to 3. Okay. As it is false, this statement won't get executed. It will print 1. Okay. And after that, I gets incremented to 2. So again, it will check whether 2 is less than 5. Condition is true. It will check whether 2 is equal to or 2 is equal to 3. As the condition is false, it will print 2. And the next cycle, I gets incremented to 3, right? So now it will check whether 3 is less than equal to 5. Condition is true. And then it will check using if statement, that is if 3 is equal to 3. Condition is true. Break gets executed. You can see entire loop stops there. That is all these statements which are there. Entire loop itself gets stopped, and the next immediate statement, that is print done, will get executed. So that is the usage of break there. So we mentioned some condition, and if that condition satisfies, and if you mention break inside that statement, or inside that if statement or decision making statement, directly the loop stops there itself. So that is regarding break. So now if we move on to continue, for the same example I will give an example, that is I will use continue here. So now so if you have if, like I told you earlier, right, regarding while. So see, now it is asking for input. I'll give an input as 4. So how many of you think that the execution stopped? Do you think like execution stopped, or what happened? No, when I give if I is equal to 3 and continue. Yeah, Pratik, you are correct. Yeah. So if you see here, it is asking, the program is still running. That is like it is getting executed continuously, because the reason here is, see, when when in the third, that is when I becomes 2, and it will check whether 2 is less than or equal to 5, and when if it will check whether 2 is equal to 3, and it will print 2, and after that I gets assigned with the 2 plus 1, that is 3. So now it will check whether 3 is less than 5, 3 is less than 4. Sorry, here n is 4, so it will check whether 3 is less than 4. As the condition is true, it will check whether 3 is equal to 3. Condition satisfies, continue is executed. So now continue is executed, right? So here you can see incrementation is after continue. But whenever the continue gets executed, all the statement which are after continue is skipped directly. It will directly make the path of execution to go to the while again here. So it will check whether 3 is less than 4. Condition is true. It will check whether 3 is equal to 3. Condition is true. Continue. So in this way, as there is no incrementation in I and incrementation I, yeah. So it continuously I remains at 3 always, and continue will get executed. Like continue will get executed every time. So now to prevent this, I'll enter a keyboard error now. So this is a keyboard error, Control C to stop infinite loop if you want. Yeah. So now let me correct this by incrementing I before continue. I is equal to I'll enter it as 5. So here you can see now. Yeah. So initially I will be 1. I am declared it here. So after that, it will check whether 1 is less than 5. True. Whether 1 is equal to 3. False. So this won't execute. It will print 1. It will print 1. And I will get incremented again. That is I becomes 2 now. So it will check whether 2 is less than 5. condition is true. It will check whether 2 is equal to 3, condition is false. It will print 2. Now I becomes 3. So now you can see 3, whether it check whether 3 is less than or equal to 5, condition is true. It will check whether if 3 is equal to 3, true. I gets incremented here. So now I became 4. Okay. So and after that there is next is the continue statement. So it will execute continue. So this is skipped. You can see 3 is not printed because at I equal to 3, the continue is executed, and print or the statement which is after continue is completely skipped. So directly it will move the interpreter to the I value here. So as I told, as I have incremented I before continue, so now I will be 4. So it will check whether 4 is less than 5, condition is true. It will check whether 4 is equal to 3, condition is false. It will print 4. So you can see 3 is not printed. That is when I became 3, that iteration is completely skipped. So that is what continue does. So I hope you understood regarding continue now. So which is a commonly used. So now let me take pass. So can anyone say what will happen? What will be the output? I will enter n as 4. Okay, n as 4. Sorry, yeah, n as 4. So here you can see this will be the output, because as I told, this it doesn't do anything. It won't affect your execution in any way. So if you remove this pass, if you remove this entire command, now if I run n is equal to 4, output is same. Just minimize this. You can see output is same. So that is like pass. It doesn't do any effect. It doesn't cause any effect to your program in any way. So normally use it, as I told, to prevent the error of having an empty body inside a loop. So that is it regarding for break, continue, and pass statement. So any okay, yeah, SS. So I told you, right. Python doesn't support do while. So for that as an alternative, we can have a while else. That is, we can have a while loop and then else and for, and after that again else. So we can use else. So I hope SS is your doubt clear. Yeah, correct. Yes. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so that is regarding loop control statement. So that is the last topic that we had for today's session. So I hope all of you learned something from this today's session, and stay tuned for our next upcoming session, which will be on functions and file handling. So which are very much needed when we go with the object oriented programming. Yeah, so if you're thinking where Python will be used, so right from IoT to artificial intelligence. So everywhere Python is used. Okay, on MZ is asking when is the next session. So yeah, so for further updates on when the sessions will be, follow us at our social media platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So you'll get a complete idea on that. Yeah, so link is put up in the chat box. Yeah, so right from IoT up till artificial intelligence, everywhere this is used. Which software is best for Python to download for laptop? If you can, it depends. So I would prefer you to go with Visual Studio Code, or you can go with the idle Python idle if you are a beginner. So I'll just it is Visual Studio Code. Other than this, we have PyCharm and Jupyter Notebook, everything, even idle. So if you are a beginner, it is better to go with idle. I would prefer, because in VS Code the settings or we have to set the interpreters. So that might be a bit difficult for beginners. Or else you can directly go with Visual Studio Code or PyCharm. So yeah, so as I was saying, right from artificial intelligence up till IoT, everywhere Python is used. Even you can use it for developing web applications. For example, like there are many frameworks for that supports Python. So that is one good thing regarding Python, that it can be used anywhere. So we have particular frameworks, modules, or libraries for Python everywhere. So that makes it a very good programming language to learn, and it is very easy to learn also. So Nagashri, okay. Which version of Python use it? Mine is the Python 3.6. Python 3.6 version. You can use it. Like there is some difference, because if you are using a Python version 3.2, so there are some it doesn't support some modules. But Python 3.6 or 3.8, it supports. So it is better to have a recent version, or the that is the Python 3.6 or 3.8. So anything you can use, Python 3.6 or 3.8. So if you download from Python, directly you can download Python 3.8 itself. So as you can see, the feedback form is put up in chat box. So I request all of you to please fill the feedback form. So it is very much needed for our improvement in the upcoming sessions, and to help us know what you people need in the upcoming sessions as well. So please fill the form. It won't take much time. So Tech Sunlight, did I clear your doubt? So you can use version 3.6 or 3.8. So that's it. For more updates regarding the upcoming live sessions, and even the activities that is taking place in Atharved, you can follow us at our social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And if you are interested in machine designing, UI UX design, UI UX design, or C programming, and even Python programming, we have already had some sessions on them, and you can check them out in YouTube. So that is it, guys. And for any other further queries, you can mail us at ops@atharved.com, or info@atharved.com, or you can visit our website atharved.com. Yeah, so I hope you learned something from today's session, and you'll be using it in your future projects. So thank you so much for attending this live session, and stay tuned for our next session.